Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
This week, an area which I'm very, very fond of, an area I lived in for about 30, 35 years, and that's the area around the west of Lochaber. And if you got a map of Scotland and go up the west coast to about exactly the halfway point, then you are pretty much in the area. So today I'm talking about the covert side of World War II and Special Operations Executive, or SOE it was known, which was based in that very area where I lived. I'll hasten to add, not at the same time. So this is really about the art of ungentlemanly warfare. And Arrowsake House, as you see in the photograph there, it lies about 2 miles southeast of the village of Arrowsake in Lochaber. And it's located on the road to the Isles, which is a historic route which connects the town of Fort William to the port of Mallig in the beautiful West Highlands of Scotland. By its location, the area of West Lochaber is relatively isolated and lightly populated, and I can verify that because it would cost me, it would cost me 10 litres of petrol to go and buy 5 litres of petrol. So it's a long way from the nearest bank, supermarket or petrol station. Now, during World War II, Arrowsake House, along with 8 other large houses and hunting lodges in the area, were requisitioned for use by the Special Operations Executive, or SOE, and became a no-go area. The SOE established its first training base at Inverloch Castle, which is, or Inverloch House as it's sometimes referred to, which is in the photograph just now, and then later transferred its headquarters to Arrowsake House itself. And Inverloch became a commando training school in the art of ungentlemanly warfare. Arrowsake House became an SOE special training school designated as STS-21. It functioned as a finishing school and specialized in commando skills, providing the final stage of training for agents destined to serve in the field. Many other local buildings were requisitioned for use by SOE to accommodate and train the men and women preparing to serve as undercover agents. The area around Arrowsake was critical to the preliminary training of some 3,000 special agents, and with only one access road, it was actually easy to seal off as a special protected area and keep it secure from unwanted attention. And although it had the advantage of remoteness and distance to keep prying eyes away, it was also convenient for legitimate visitors to reach, as it was served by a railway line. So security was rigorously maintained, and even the locals there were required to have special passes for movement into and out of the protected area. So from May 1940, the War Office started the process of requisitioning properties in the Scottish Highlands for unspecified military purposes, one of which was Inverloch House, which was the home of the Cameron Head family. And I remember old Mrs. Cameron Head very, very well. Very eccentric character, a wonderful, wonderful lady. So situated close to the shores of Lochaber and on the foothills of Shuncruch and Unstack, Inverloch House had been identified as the ideal location for an irregular warfare school. So under the stewardship of military intelligence or research, Brian Mayfield and Bill Sterling, who was the elder brother of David Sterling, who formed the Special Air Services, or SAS, which is the British Army's elite Special Forces regiment, and had been appointed as commanding officer and chief instructor, respectively, of what had been designated as the Special Training Centre, or STC, Lochaber. Mayfield and Sterling's first jobs were to recruit instructors suitably qualified in the teaching of the black arts associated with guerrilla warfare. Shimmy Lovett, the Lord Lovett, who was my godfather, who was Sterling's cousin, was an obvious choice. Recently departed from his father's old regiment, the Lovett Scouts, he was looking to utilize his skills as a sniper and a stalker and expert of fieldcraft in rugged and inhospitable terrains. A wide array of instructors had been recruited and were soon passing on the benefits of their experience, either military or otherwise, including Jim Gavin of the Royal Engineers, who was a Himalayan climber, and he was part of the 8-man climbing team on the Everest expedition of 1936. Other adventurers included no less than 5 holders of the prestigious Polar Medal: Jimmy Scott, who, along with fellow recipient Freddie Spencer Chapman, were members of Gino Watkins' British Arctic air route expedition to Greenland in 1930 and 31. Then there was Martin Lindsay, who had been on the Greenland expedition and on the British Trans-Greenland expedition of 1934, with fellow instructor and Polar Medal holder Andrew Croft. The 5th holder of the medal, and perhaps the most distinguished, was Surgeon Commander Murray Levick, who had been on the ill-fated Terra Nova expedition to the South Pole with Captain Scott in 1910-13. The list of other instructors reporting to the STC Lochaber reads like a who's who of adventurers and mavericks, interlaced with explosives experts, weapons instructors, survival specialists, and burglars. Well, Sir Tommy McPherson, who attended the first commando course, recalled in his words, "There was a remarkable collection of instructors there. There was a fellow called Mackworth Preed, an ex-guardsman, who was a weaponry instructor, and he had to be the finest shot I've ever seen. With a .303 standard bolt-action rifle, he could get 3 magazines off in a minute, and they'd all be in one or beside the bullseye at 300 yards. He was a remarkable chap. He used his 3rd finger on the trigger and flicked the bolt, which had very easy action, with his 2nd finger after each shot, and the speed was astonishing. We had a very good explosive chap and a gentleman on release from Peterhead Jail, who was an expert safe man, and a very nice chap he was too." Then we go on. The famous actor David Niven was trained in explosives at Edinburgh Islet House, becoming an extremely adept at blowing up trains and other targets. And as well as having a starring role in the movie The Guns of Navarone, David was also the technical explosives advisor to the movie. He was heard to say, "Well, at least something I learned in my army training came into useful in peacetime." The inaccessibility of the location and harshness of the environment made it a perfect training area for the fledgling commando officers, many of whom had only spent a few weeks with their men before being sent on to the Highlands. Survival and fieldcraft training were the remit of Lord Lovett and his fieldcraft team, who used local gillies and non-commissioned officers from the Lovett Scouts to assist with instruction and demonstrations. Lessons and exercises were carried out in the rugged terrain around Lochaber, and believe me, it is rugged there as well. I mean, the hills are just vertical. These hills were home ground to myself for many years, and I know just how difficult and unforgiving they can be, with the weather changing from good to horrendous in seconds. And I've been caught out in them before, and it gets really bad there. The hours were spent learning how to patrol using the ground and natural features to their advantage, while being taught the principles of camouflage and concealment. Stalking was taught day and night, and they were taught how to kill, skin, gut, and cook deer, sheep, and rabbits. They were encouraged to use boats in the sea loch to supplement their rations with fresh mackerel and sea trout. Live firing was commonplace. Mad Mike Calvert from the Royal Engineers assisted Jim Galvin with the fundamentals of explosive devices, booby traps, and all the associated components required for demolition and sabotage. It's not unusual, even to this day, to come across a few rounds of live ammunition partly hidden amongst the rocks and boulders on the mountainsides. It was just, the noise on those hills must have been something else in those days. So, as with all commando training, physical fitness was one of the key components. The mountainous terrain and inclement weather turned a standard route march into a real feat of endurance. John Murray of No. 2 Commando recalls the experience, and in his words, he said, "We underwent some pretty hair-raising and tough training in or around Lochaber. I remember marching from Fort William to Lochaber on an unmade road. It was no joke, despite the fact that we were all reasonably fit. I also remember being in the tender care of Captains Fairbairn and Sykes for unarmed combat." Well, I should mention here that the march from Fort William to Lochaber, it's about 35 miles in distance. And just imagine doing that in all weathers, carrying about 50 pounds of kit on your back and another 8.5-pound rifle as well. It's quite a feat, it really is. And with both feet, there'd be a lot of blisters. If assault courses and physical training exercises were the norm, the Fairbairn and Sykes brand of PT wasn't. They taught them to fight with knives, sticks, shovels, toshes, tin hats, anything they could get their hands on. How to smash eardrums, rip mouths, split cheeks and gouge eyes, and for good measure how to break necks as well, dislocate shoulders and crush sternums. It was tough stuff. Training designed to teach them how to kill a man with their bare hands, and how, in Fairbairn's words, were to get tough. At the end of the war, there was a meeting with Winston Churchill and General Eisenhower, along with a senior British intelligence officer, in the drawing room of Inverleith House. Now, this meeting was a top-secret discussion which actually set the groundwork on the forming of America's Central Intelligence Agency. The CIA was born there. Sadly, Inverleith House today, it's in a state of decay, and it's almost beyond repair. I saw it just recently, and it's so sad looking at it now. Until 2014, one of the rooms in the house actually served as the local post office to Lochaber. I have many fond memories from my frequent visits to Inverleith House, or Castle, as it was also known. In the hallway, old magazines and newspapers were piled up on a large table, and they were left as they were in 1945 by the military occupants. Officers' names are still to this day inscribed in gold leaf on several of the doors on the first floor. A clear-out in 1995 uncovered numerous boxes and army kit bags under the tables, some of which contained radio equipment and other military paraphernalia. And there was one box of live Mills 36 hand grenades discovered behind a couch in one of the other rooms. An incredible time warp of military history dating back to the war years. And I've even enjoyed the nostalgia of a number of true traditional Highland balls there, with everyone in their finery and dancing to reels and jigs accompanied by local pipers. Much whiskey was enjoyed, and it would go on all night and even into the next day. Arisaig House, the former SOE headquarters, was until 2020 Aurelian Chateau 5-star country house hotel, where I have enjoyed many a meal of superb quality food. It's now reverted to a grand private country house with an incredible history, and not without a certain amount of mystery.